the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment channel. If this is your first time tuning in, and it is because of the title, I would encourage you to bear with me and ride this out. On September 14th, Monday night, a 17-year-old man named Andre Conley was out canvassing in his neighborhood, in his district, for a politician who is a Republican, and while he was canvassing, he was gunned down with a friend who was out working with him. Now, the media has done everything it can in its power to make this not about politics, to make this not about a worldview. And I guess to some degree I'm okay with that, because frankly I'm kind of over the emphasis that we have had on politics and the division of politics in the United States. But I'm going to be drawing a distinction between Andre Conley and what happened in Minnesota after the death of George Floyd on May 25th. Here we have a juxtaposition between a 17-year-old man with his entire life in front of him. And I know that's a cliched statement, but by all accounts he was a bright student. And I know that we very rarely will speak ill of the dead, so people could be coming out and saying, hey, look, he was an incredibly intelligent young man, hard worker, and that could all just be fluff, but I don't think it is. But when you compare him to George Floyd, who, you know, and I'm sorry for George Floyd's family, I'm sorry that George died. Here we are removed from George's death. So let's go June, July, August, nearly 4 full months into September since George has died. Reports are continuously coming out that the way that George died isn't the way it was portrayed by the media and by Marxist, violent, criminal insurrectionists who chose to burn down Minneapolis in the wake of George's death. People burned the city of Minneapolis to the ground in the downtown area over perceived police misconduct. On Wednesday night, September 16th, a genuinely peaceful protest was organized. These demonstrators went out marching through the streets in the area surrounding where Andre was gunned down by violent criminal thugs, calling for people to put down their guns and put their hands up for peace. And there was a smattering of people there. What is wrong with you, Minnesota? What is wrong with you, America? What is wrong with you, Antifa? What is wrong with you, Black Lives Matter? What is wrong with you, Mayor Jacob Frey? What is wrong with you, Governor Tim Walz? What is wrong with you, Minneapolis City Council? When you come out and you decry the violence that was perpetrated against George Floyd by law enforcement officials, immediately call for their termination, immediately call for their firing, immediately call for their arrest, immediately call for their conviction without all the evidence, without all the facts. And I was guilty. I saw the clip of the video and I called it murder and I said that man should be arrested, those men should be arrested, and I was guilty. But as of the filming of this video, the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, the city council of Minneapolis, Black Lives Matter across the country, Antifa across the country has remained silent in the face of the murder of this young man. There were no calls for no justice, no peace. There were no calls for protesting, violent or otherwise. There were no calls for compassion for the downtrodden minorities of North Minneapolis. And here's why. Andre Conley doesn't fit. He was supporting, excuse me.
He did not deserve this.
You know what? No. Listen to that. Listen to this.
Through the teary eyes of those who knew and loved 17-year-old Andre Conley, we get a clear view of who he was and the spirit he leaves behind.
His infectious smile, his kindness, the way he could make people laugh.
He was super excited to just make a change in the community and be part of a bigger thing.
Stop the killing.
A change those he leaves behind are now advocating for, calling for an end to what they call senseless and unnecessary gun violence.
The change don't happen with one or two people. It has to happen with a generation of a collective of people.
In the weeks leading up to Conley's death,
He was volunteering and working on a campaign.
a campaign for Republican congressional candidate Lacy Johnson.
They came to me and
That's why there's been no outrage. Andre Conley was campaigning for Lacy Johnson, who is challenging Ilhan Omar, who is a plague on Minneapolis. That's why there's been no outrage. That's why the crowds are tiny. That's why our governor hasn't shown up at the scene of the death of Andre Conley. That's why Jacob Frey hasn't come out and shown up. That's why the Minneapolis City Council hasn't shown up. That's why Black Lives Matter hasn't raised their fists in the Marxist symbol. That's why Antifa hasn't done a damn thing. Because Andre Conley, in their words, would be considered a token. Because he was campaigning for a Republican. Because he wasn't taking the right position. The state is sick. Black Lives Matter is evil. Antifa is evil. Governor Walz is evil. Jacob Frey is evil. The Minneapolis City Council is evil. And the only thing that they can offer in this moment is to critique the Minneapolis Police Department and wonder where they are. Why aren't they doing more? Could it be because you've decimated them? You've destroyed their morale? And one 17-year-old man has put you all to shame. Because he's campaigning for a man who is fighting against the evil of the woman you've endorsed. So whether or not his murder was motivated by the politics of his views doesn't matter. What matters is all of you leftists have remained silent about his murder. Power to the people, you say. No. Power to the proper, approved worldview people. Andre Conley doesn't matter to you because he wasn't approved. And I guarantee you somewhere, someone, a large group of someones in the city of Minneapolis is celebrating the death of Andre Conley, saying he got what he deserved because he didn't toe the line. And Andre Conley, at the age of 17, gunned down in cold blood by murderous thugs in the city of Minneapolis, was twice the man that George Floyd ever dreamed of being. And I would take 1,000 Andre Conleys over 2 million George Floyds, because Andre Conley was a real American. He was a hero. Because he was trying to make a difference. He was trying to get out of the trap. But instead, you're going to continue to idolize George Floyd. You're going to continue to set up memorials to him. You're going to set aside an entire street for George Floyd. You're going to allow massive funerals, gatherings in the midst of a pandemic. And what are you going to do for Andre Conley? Shame on you, Minnesota. Shame on you, Tim Walz. Shame on you, little boy Jacob Frey. Shame on you, Minneapolis. Minneapolis City Council. Shame on you. You're disgusting. You're absolutely, totally, 100% across the board disgusting, and you don't deserve the positions you hold, and you definitely don't deserve the money that you make. You're rot. You're filth. And not one of you can hold a candle to Andre Conley.